All right, so I think we get started. We are expecting a few more other people, so once those people start dropping in, yeah, I think it should be any moment now. But thank you all for coming. So we're very excited about our event tonight with Chantel. For those of you that are new to our events or what we do, we're the Chicago Graphic Design Club. We're a community for designers to engage in discourse about the theory and craft of graphic design across Chicago and beyond. We just had our 1 year anniversary a couple of weeks ago, May 6th. So we're still a pretty young organization. We do a lot of different sorts of events. We do a lot of talks. We do book discussions. And as the world begins to open up, we're looking into finding ways to start doing things in person and also doing things virtually because we want to be mindful of, the different people that had different needs, and we recognize that we have a lot of attendees that are not based in Chicago. So yeah, just that's our website here. This is our Instagram handle. You could find any sort of updates, links on any of those two channels. Um, if anybody is interested in getting involved or has any passion for building design communities, if you have any ideas, if there's something you want to see, our door is always open. So please feel free to, at any moment, to shoot us a message. This is our email. You could also just message us directly on our Instagram or on our Facebook or on our LinkedIn. We're always looking for ideas. We're always looking to expand and grow our community. So yeah, send us a message. We're also on Slack. We have a pretty Slack community that's slowly growing. So if you're interested in talking with other designers, other creatives online, you're more than welcome. You could find that link on our website. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Melody, and they will be. Oh, and by the way, our upcoming event next month, June 3rd, we have the honor of welcoming Jessica Helfand. She's going to be doing a talk called "Evidence of Things Unseen." She recently just published a book called Self-Reliance, which is a collection of essays that she wrote over the past year throughout the pandemic. So she's going to be speaking with us next month. Attendees will have the opportunity to win a signed copy of her book. So you could register. It's a free event. You could go to our website on the bottom left there. So pass it over to you, Melody.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm so happy to have you all here. I'm very happy to welcome Chantel. So now that we have her here, what we're going to do is that after her talk, we're going to have a Q&A session with her so that we can get to know her better. We can start to talk about different things regarding her talk, about design, pretty much anything we decide to talk about. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have a questions document that we pulled together as the admin team, and then we're going to be able to ask them at the end. However, something else we're going to be doing is that we're going to be opening it up at the end for discussion directly with Chantel. So here, yeah, we're going to open it at the end. And so we're going to write out more instructions later on. Either we're going to have people raise hands or we're just going to open up to the floor. So it'll be dependent on what's happening after the talk. So excited to have you all here. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Chantel, who is a wonderful, wonderful leader. She has been great to talk to and get to know. So I'm really excited for her talk. So I can't intro her any better than she can do herself. So I will pass it over to Chantel. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Melody, and thanks to the team here at Chicago Graphic Design Club for having me. I'm going to share my screen and we can get started. All right, guys, hopefully I got a thumbs up that everyone can see. All right, perfect. Thank you, Lauren. I can see your thumb there. So, all right. Hello, Chicago Graphic Design Club. I am Chantel Valentene, as Melody said. I'm here representing Team Firebelly, which is an agency that is based in Chicago, Illinois. We are certified women-owned, and we are proud to say we are constantly challenging ourselves and our partners to create a more empathetic world through beautiful and responsible design. We've been doing so for the last 22 years. It's pretty incredible. Let's hop right into it. So Like many of us, early last year, I found myself home in front of my TV, scrolling through every good show. Does anyone else tell themselves it's not wasting time because you're watching documentaries or inspirational TV? I do that for myself all the time. We ended up watching this cool Apple TV series called Home. It was the Edgeland House episode in Texas, and the writer who lives there said, filling life up with wonder is best achieved through going down untraveled paths. Insert light bulb moment. I pressed pause, grabbed my remote, and wrote this down in my journal as quickly as possible. I'm thinking to myself, this guy is magical and he lives here. He's leveled up my insane fantasy of living in the Lord of the Rings Shire. I'm definitely a nerd, but he must be on to something. So there I was in the midst of all that was the epicness and pandemic of 2020, thinking about the untraveled path. Yes, I actually pictured myself as this badass Black woman explorer who is on this quest. Like many of you, I think, I'm on this search to find this magical synergy between my vocation and my avocation. My work marrying my passions, my interests, and the impact I want to have on the world. For me, in a way, the word wonder cracked open this kind of new realization. I may think I have all this potential, but in order to actualize that, I have to be open enough to find that wonder in myself. That's what I was telling myself the entire April, May, June of last year. This wonder is allowing myself the space for possibility. And that's the space I was looking for in the midst of the pandemic. So here I am, laid out on the couch, thinking about all of this possibility, thinking, where do I direct my experience and my potential? Maybe some of you are also on this journey as designers. For me, it wasn't about pivoting, the hot button where everyone says, you can pivot, pivot, pivot. No, it wasn't about that for me. It was thinking about a bridge. How do I bridge my years of experience and apply that across different disciplines? So here I am now feeling somewhat super and somewhat empowered. And this word wonder has forced me to think about my own superpowers. Sometimes superpowers are unexpected. They hide out in strange places and aren't immediately evident. Sometimes you want to push away what some may call negative traits, but they're at the root sometimes of who we are as people and make us kind of do what we do, how we tick. So here I am thinking, okay, I'm a perfectionist, somewhat, constantly self-evaluating, concerned about what others think or what I think about my work too much, kind of striving for flawlessness, check mark. I do that. My dad would say I'm hard-headed or headstrong. I'm impatient of control, not taking advice too well sometimes, or suggestions, wanting things to happen now. It is my thing. Like if I want something, I want it done right away. So check mark, here I am, also headstrong. And last but not least, the pinnacle of all, critical. Let's just say judgmental. That could be inward for me, for the most part. You could be doing this, you should be doing more. Check mark. So here I am, forced to realize how creativity is more universal than we would ever think. Being okay with not knowing everything and not having everything solved, which means I have to be curious, be open-minded, and be ready to try new things. Essentially, embrace myself wholly, the negative things, perfectionism, headstrongness, and criticism, and be unafraid to fail. These are all symptoms of creativity. They may all seem a bit negative, but as creatives, we live in this duality. We use our experience and sometimes our neuroses, for sure, as these unexpected superpowers. To an extent, I believe we are all born naturally creative, but some of us have a teacher that nurtures us or a parent in a creative field. We have experiences that foster our capacity to solve problems, take risks, and flip perspectives. We are encouraged to push ourselves and shake shit up. We build, we make, we create. We are this crew of natural born creatives. So I want to rewind just a little bit and give you a bit of backstory about just who I am and where I come from. Many of you are here because we've been on a similar road. We've made a transition from having passions and hobbies to making creativity our work. For me, it started with an obsession with building brands. When I was younger, I spent hours cutting pages out of magazines, buying everything you would think of: Vogue, W, Harper's, Face, all of them, annoying my mother, and just sitting there and buying one to keep and one to cut from. Then it was filling notebooks with sketches and ideas. And then who would have thought selling bedazzled bandanas to folks in my neighborhood would have led me to this career in fashion and apparel. This is when a little wonder and a lot of open-mindedness began to lead me down this untraveled path last year. I was thinking, where am I going? But I found a bridge, which inevitably leads me here, talking with you good folks. I'm now at the helm, as you know already, of this phenomenal creative agency named Firebelly, working alongside the most talented, thoughtful, and badass team in the game. I couldn't be prouder to be called a managing director. They honestly make me look good every day. They do all of the hard work, and I just talk about them and sell what they do. Let's talk about today. Maybe you're a freelancer, a solopreneur, or a small shop with a few consistent clients, or maybe you work for or run an agency. Along the way, no matter what field I've been in, the constant through line is knowing your value. And that is what we're talking about today. As natural born creatives, no matter what discipline we apply our talents to, we need to recognize them and recognize our value. First off, you don't want to put your talent into a box. There are plenty of corporate companies to help you do that. Obviously, you have to be aware of the master of none theory, but the point here is that you don't want to limit yourself. As Massimo Vignelli says here in this beautiful poster, if you can design one thing, you can design everything. This definitely inspired me the entire last year. So, welcome to Design Club. Here we are. Let's welcome all you natural born creatives into this Design Club. And the first rule of Design Club is that we talk about Design Club. When I was younger, and occasionally now, I could be a bit selfish. Yes, occasionally now as well. I attached myself to the word mine. My cousin would always say to me, Chantel, sharing is caring and caring is love. And I would always say, that's mine. But at every level of Design Club, whether you are the veteran or the recent graduate, we are all here to learn. The only way learning happens is if we share the worst and the best of our experiences. If we're vulnerable with each other and tell our stories, share our stories, the wins, the losses, the hards, the not so greats, that is important for us to connect, to become better, to move forward. You don't always know what you are doing per se in Design Club. But in this club, knowing is overrating. This is the trying and being okay with failing club. I literally fail at something every single day. I kid you not, every day. Whether it be small, like forgetting to write back an email, which happens a lot sometimes, or sending 2 paychecks to one person, which happened last week, or maybe putting too much pressure in the pressure test as we learn about our capacity at the agency, essentially saying to my design team, let's just see what we can do. How much can we handle? Let's just fill in all the clients and see what happens. Sorry, they want to kill me. But even then, it's slightly failing, but it's still learning. There are no wins without failing. Most importantly, there are no lessons without failing. So the second rule of Design Club, stay curious. Always stay curious. Yes, you have a process. Yes, you can replicate that process, but everything we do in this industry is somewhat bespoke. Make time to learn from others, your peers, your clients, and refine your process. At Firebelly, we have Learning Fridays. Our incredible director of project management leads them, our team weekly in our learnings. It's everything from how to raise chickens and build a chicken coop to learning about the nuances of alternative text and accessible design. Also embedded in the fabric of our company is an education stipend. This is to encourage people to learn new things. Whether you are an agency or an individual, curiosity is the thing that pushes us forward. Be open-minded. I heard someone once say, if you're a passenger in a car, never fall asleep. Keep your eyes open at the world around you because you never know what inspiration there is to take in. I did hear that and I love that, but full disclosure, I fall asleep all the time on car rides. It's just a thing that happens. But yes, stay awake, please. I hear it's great. It's a great lesson though, even in jest. And also in this club, you want to be open because certainty can sometimes mean a lack of imagination. Don't be too sure, always try new things. The third rule of Design Club, value your perspective. This is one of my favorites, and I think one of the key things for all of us here in Design Club world. Because, surprise, the client is paying you for your point of view. The customer is always right, just like throw that ish out the window. Like, not really, I'm being facetious, but collaboration is everything, but there's a difference between collaboration and being used. We're not here to be pixel pushers or Wacom jockeys or yes people. You're being paid for your mind. You are there to lend your expertise at any and every level that you are in a company. So in addition to valuing your own perspective, value your team's perspective. This leads us to a whole other subject about idea meritocracy, but maybe I'll leave that for the Q&A or talk about that more later. And then last but not least, this seems obvious, but we need to value our client's perspective. Sometimes you're thinking to yourself, this client has no idea what they're talking about, but that's not our job. Our job is to take them in, hear what they have to say, and help make them the best product. So talking about clients, picture this. You've worked hard on a project. You're really proud of the end result, but the only thing you get is criticism from your manager. Or you have an unhappy client, or the hardest critique, which is the one that really does hit at home, is the you could have done better, or someone on your team is just a little bit disappointed in you. Now, who would not take any one of these situations personally? It hurts. It's real. Raise your hands. I can see y'all. Don't be shy. It's true. Critique is hard. And that leads to the fourth rule of Design Club. Don't take it personal. Don't sweat the small stuff. Yes, I know it's easier said than done because critique hurts. But wouldn't it be so much easier if we didn't take things personally? It would be easier. You'd be free and no one would have power over us. We would live in this kind of creative utopia instead of endlessly battling against these things that drive us completely nuts. But it's always good to get advice from others. So I'm going to give you a little bit of advice in the next slide from Rosie Perez. So just listen up.
Got a different set of rules of mine. You want to hear me? Here they go. Sometimes when you win, you really lose. And sometimes when you lose, you really win. And sometimes when you win or lose, you actually tie. And sometimes when you tie, you actually win or lose. I hate it when you talk like that. It makes me crazy when you talk like that. Winning and losing is only one big organic globule from which one extracts what one needs. I'm fucked.
All right. The main point here is the last thing she said. I love it. Extract what you need from critique. That is the key thing. Just take what you need. Keep your objective in mind. We are here to solve problems, help businesses grow, and move clients forward. We can do this. We can have empathy and not be a pushover at the same time. We can take critique and learn from everyone. Most everyone. Basically everyone. Sometimes certain people you can't. But for the most part, critique from most people, it works. The 5th rule of Design Club is no. No, it's a full sentence. I say this all the time to my team. There's a fantastic art of saying the word no. You take a step back, look at the big picture, and kind of like think about the bigger purpose. For the folks here who are running your own company or your own agency, you have to decide who gets past no. This is like key number 1 when running a company. Don't think, okay, I'm small, I don't have enough work, I have to take it all in. It's not about that. People have to get past your no. I know it's hard, but it can be done. For sure, and I have to acknowledge this, saying no to privilege. I do know that, but everyone has to have a no budget. You can't just throw out no's to everyone and anyone you don't like at first glance, okay? So the key here is stop spending time you don't have on brands you don't love doing work you do not want to do. Again, a privilege, but a must in all design teams, in all design work. Because at the end of the day, you have one life. You have one output. You have to figure out, how do you make these decisions? How do you know which brands or which clients can get your time? Which brands you say no to? Which brands you say yes to? You have to have some kind of decision-making matrix. That's what we do here at Firebelly. All right, so here is the chart. The how to decide who gets past no chart. It is my favorite thing. I use this legitimately every day, okay? You have here square one up on the left-hand side. That is the easy one. That is the hell yes. You are a high value and low risk client, meaning you are going to pay all the ducats in the world for our work. And we love what you do. So we are happy to work with you. That's always the easiest box to fill, check mark. You know that, and when that happens all the time, you're living a good life, but it doesn't always happen that way. So box 2, pause and plan. We have these often. The high value and high risk clients. The clients who are like, okay, we'll give you the money, but you know, maybe we don't exactly align with what you want. Or we align with what you do. We love your work, but maybe you're not so much to give us, you know, the budget. Always pause and plan and think about how to take that person in. It's not an easy no or automatic no, but you know, think about it. Bottom left-hand side, gut check. Low value, low risk. These are those clients that kind of like fill in the blanks at your company. Maybe the clients you're like, well, we can do that pretty easily. It's not hard work. You know, like we can fill that in. The risk is low because, you know, it won't take us a lot of time, those kinds of things. If you do too much of that work, honestly, it'll clog up your feed. It clogs up the pipeline in the company. So always check what you're doing when thinking about those kinds of clients. And then last but not least, the low value and high risk clients. Just say plain old no. We don't agree with you. We don't like what you do. So therefore, we won't be working with you. And I'll say it nicely. No one likes an asshole. Say, you know, no, thank you. Maybe next time, because a no today may be a yes tomorrow. So all in all, when it all comes down to it, value is key. Meaningful work and meaningful relationships equal success. That's what I got. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chantel. I do have one question for you to kick us off. Before we start getting into these discussion-heavy questions, I want to ask you, what are you reading?
What am I reading? Good question to ask me that right now. What should I be reading? I'm reading you asked me that, and I have a ton of books here that are on my please finish me list. So I'll start with a couple that you asked me that. I actually have books here. The Designful Company by Marty Neumeier. He's a Neumeier, I believe. He owns the Liquid Agency. Super cool book about building design companies. It has been phenomenal. I post all over it. It's a great book so far. Books I have that I want to read. This book called Traction. It's about getting a grip in your business. So it's very good as well. The next book here, I love this book. It's a design-ish book, but it's kind of more about building companies and doing that well in the digital age. It's called Expert Secrets. Russell Brunson, awesome book. I have plenty here, but those are the three that I'm like trying to get through right now. But I've been trying to get through for a couple of months. There you go.
Yeah, that's great. I can speak to Traction. It's a very, very valuable book that I've found.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so thank you. But I will say I'm inviting everyone to turn on the cameras, ask a question. We're not going to be calling on people this time around. So if you want to ask something, just go ahead and unmute and go and ask it. And so, yeah, I'd love to discuss more about, the role of a leader versus a team member. So if anybody has questions as far as that goes, that could be great. Would anyone like to start us off?
Don't be shy, don't bite. No questions?
I have a question, I guess. Hi, my name's Leah. I live in LA, but went to DePaul and lived in Chicago for a good amount of time. So I know Firebelly and have adored the studio for a while. So as far as leadership and as it pertains to that, I'm currently kind of trying to get to that next role as a creative director or associate creative director. And when I talk about it, of course, imposter syndrome happens because, classic, just whether that's being a woman or just knowing that that is kind of an intimidating title. I guess, what would your thoughts be around just, I'm a senior art director right now and I'm applying for these roles. I guess as it relates to that, do you have any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, the words of wisdom are imposter syndrome. Everyone feels it, leader or not. Like, to be honest, I've been doing creative work for the last, a long time, decades, for a while. And I feel imposter syndrome every day. It's something that doesn't really go away. So I would just say, like, if you feel as though you want to move up, apply. Ask what in your company, like, what does it take for me to do this role? For me in the past, I literally just started doing the work. Like, before I even say I want to be a senior person, I just started, if you're in a company, just start doing the work and saying, okay, I can actually handle this work. I can do this work. I think the thing is, sometimes titles in companies they mean different things, different places, right? So you can have a person who is a junior person at one company who's doing completely senior work, and a senior person at one company doing director level work. So it's just a matter of knowing what it means at the company that you're in to be creative director, and just try, approach, ask the people around you, how do I get this job? I think for me as a woman, the thing I found in the past was it was always hard for me to put myself out there, hard to ask for things, hard to say I want things. But that is the way that you move up and out and around in this world, is just saying, okay, like, I want to try this new thing. Even if like you're not quite ready for it, even if like, maybe you're not quite there, just maybe try, It's hard, Leah. I experience it every day still, to be honest. Imposter syndrome.
Crazy. I mean, it's kind of more for other agencies that I'm looking for. And the question that I'm asked is like, okay, how are you a leader? I can answer that. But then when it comes to, who reports to you, like, not really that many people, but because I work at a small agency. So it's kind of like, okay, well, you're not a leader as it relates to a title, but I am, because I just spearhead things at my agency by just that kind of being in my nature. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's tough. I think, like, being a leader is a title that can be given, but it really is something that has to be earned, right?
Totally.
Like, I could be any director at a company, but it takes a long time for your team to trust you in a role, and a long time for you to trust yourself in a role, right? So even though someone might say to you, like, you haven't managed people yet, well, I haven't had an opportunity yet. So how can I be that kind of leader if I don't have that kind of opportunity? You know, it's always okay to push back and say, you know, I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready for an intern or an apprentice to be a part of my team so I can show you how I lead and how I can help to grow your, you know, X business, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Leah.
I have one question. Could you give an example of like a failure that you've gone through that propelled you to like a next level in your career or in your life?
Oh, geez.
Like some sort of like
yeah.
turning point.
I'll give you a good one. Before I was at Firebelly, when I was a bit younger, I started a fashion company. It was called Resin. It was, you know, kind of one of those flukes. I'm going to start a company, naive, don't know anything, just kind of like went full throttle into it. And, you know, our first season, if you know anything about the fashion world, we got like this major order from a company called Barney's. Barney's is like, I don't know, you can equate it to, but kind of like this high-end luxury company that takes years to get into. And here we were first season getting this order. So I legitimately was just like, what the hell? Like, how are we going to handle production? It's me and my friend and our partner. Like, there's no staff. It was just kids who like to design things. So I went forward, built this company over the years, right? Like, had this first order, didn't know anything about running a business, literally nothing, not a clue. And ended up building this like $4.5 million company in like 2 years, just like too fast, too soon, completely unaware, just like essentially riding by the coattails of it works this way, maybe, like it could happen this way, flying to Japan, flying to wherever I had to fly to, just doing things. And I mean, I think in about 3 or 4 years, we had this company and we realized like we weren't making any money. Like, I didn't know. I was looking at the books. All I saw was that we had all this money coming in. So I thought money coming in means like you're succeeding. Like, you have all this money. It's great. No, we made no profit. Zero, none, zilch, zip, right? So you have revenue, but you have no way to actually take money home, like for real. So for me, like that was a big failure when that company closed. But I'm the kind of person who took that right away. I was like, okay, listen, you didn't know business, but now you know you have to understand business. So my next job right after that was a corporate company. So I said to myself, I'm never going to be in a company again, build a company and not understand how to run the company on the back end. Because the creative side was second nature in a way, like building the products, building the story, that kind of thing just happens. But, you know, having employees, paying production teams, you know, running a successful, profitable business, that was like a big hole. And I think a lot of designers have that hole just in life in general, because they're not always, you know, both sides of the brain. So that failure, and it was a failure, it did happen to teach me a lesson. And I think a lot of failures in my life, I kind of always look at that way, even though I know I'm like, it sucked. I cried, you know, I was ashamed. I was, you know, completely, you know, one day you're in a magazine, the next day you're like, I don't have any job. I don't have any work. Like it's horrendous. But you learn, you move on, try new things, keep kicking. That's kind of a big failure for me. Anyone else have a question? All these secret boxes with no faces.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. I was really interested in what you were saying about valuing your perspective and, you know, people hiring you, your clients hiring you for your mind. So I wanted you to talk a little bit more about how you determine when and how hard to push back on clients when they want you to do something that you truly don't believe in. And I'm not saying that from, you know, perspective of just, you know, aesthetically, you just don't want to do something that they want you to do, but like genuinely you think it's like not right for the company or not right for the brand that you're working on.
That is a good question. That's a difficult question. And honestly, we've experienced this recently at our company. And it comes up in different ways. Sometimes I think at Firebelly, we have the founder, Dawn, she's very explicit in the ethos of the company, right? Good design for good reason. We definitely work with people who do good work in the world. Like that's our thing. And we have a definite belief, making it politically or let's just say that, like we have beliefs. And a client that we had recently, one of our employees brought up to me that they may not align with us, gut check wise align with us, politically. So we had to actually really think about, like, should we help this client? How do we actually move forward doing the work? And it's not that we have a process in place or that we have systems, because we're small and those things are not built, but it was a conversation. I think the thing that I've learned is a leader isn't a team of one. I'm a team of many people, and it's my job to kind of listen to people around me and make decisions from what they have to say. So the uncomfort was heard first, and then it was opportunity. After that, it was, well, maybe one part of the team is a bit more leaning to a way that we don't believe, but the other half wants to move forward. So maybe we can actually step in and help them to move forward, help them have a new voice, help them push them in a new direction. Was there a process behind that decision? No. But did we check our values and we check ourselves? Yes. And to be honest, if someone had said to me, I do not want to do this, we wouldn't have done it. We've had a client recently that someone said to me, I cannot do it. And that to me was a hard, just like, no, I don't care. I don't care who it is. Like, if someone on my team is just completely adamant this doesn't work for them, I value them enough more than any paycheck. That's also going to come first. I think that's the key for any team, is the people who are around you are your filter. You trust them, you believe them, and you act upon what they ask from you. And, if it's something that I can do, I will do. So again, no was a full sentence there. Like I said, no, sorry, we can't do this. We moved on. Thanks for that question. Anyone else have a question?
Yeah,
I don't buy it.
I have a question. So I'm just wondering about what your experience is like starting like at a new job and a new role in the middle of a pandemic and being remote. And it sounds like you're building good rapport with the other folks at Firebelly. I just wondered how that experience was going and like how you are managing to kind of build that relationship in this environment.
It's hard, honestly. Like, I'm trying, but I think especially as a leader, it's somewhat hard, right? You want to be with people, hear what they have to say, like make time for one-on-ones. And honestly, I'm not really doing that well. I'll be real with you. Like, it's a hard thing to do, to kind of get used to being on Zoom. Is it possible? Yes. Will we get through it? Yes. Are we doing okay? Yes. But there are those moments with the team where you can kind of like pull up to their desk and kind of talk about their day. And you can't really do that via Zoom. So is the hybrid model working for the most part? Is there something lost when you're not with people in person? Yes. So it's figuring out like, what is that balance going to be? I think our PM Meg does a really wonderful job of like having us do stand-ups every day. Like, we meet every day in the morning, talk about our day. And we always have like interfacing time with each other once a day, and that's always good to know what's happening. But that personal touch is something that I think we're all trying to figure out how to have it happen in a real way. For us, it'll probably end up being like twice a year in-person meetings, like big events, that we'll plan to kind of hang out together. But yeah, it's a new world, Lauren, and we're all trying to figure out how to navigate it slowly but surely. So
I feel you there. I'm an educator, a design educator, and that's something that has been challenging for me this year as well, is like how to build a relationship, like actual relationship with people, so that you can, have meaningful discussions about the work and improve that work in that way. And it's just really difficult.
yeah,
So I appreciate your response.
Yeah, I think the one thing which I don't with my old team, and we haven't started so much at Firebelly, is like setting aside time, like picking a Friday during work hours and saying these 2 hours if we're just talking. Let's just sit down, shoot the stuff, and talk together. Like, grab a glass of wine and just like talk about life. I mean, the good work happens by conversation, by connection, by just being together. So making time, even on Zoom, like we do with our friends normally, just to talk. I think that's going to be important for us, and finding time, and literally for us, probably making time, like putting it on the calendar to have that time to connect. I think that's going to be important.
That's a really good idea.
Thanks.
I have another question, but if someone else does, they can go ahead.
I think you're good, Leah. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So it's kind of a two-part question. Firebelly puts a lot of focus on human-centered design, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So I'm super interested in that, and then also do graphic design just in general. But I'm having a hard time kind of teaching myself. I took like the IDO certificate and things like that, but bridging that with like branding. Can you kind of give an example of that interview human-centered design process and like a brand project rather than like I know like the Divi bike was one of the examples, but rather like instead of like a tangible project that you can touch and feel and things like that, do you have any digital experience examples?
We did recently just.
Uh-oh.
You're cutting up, Chantel. Did not. Could anyone hear her?
No,
No.
but I'm eager to know what she has to say about this.
We can probably give her a few minutes to see if she'll reconnect.
Yeah. Do you have her phone number, Melody?
No, but I will send her an email right now.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Oh, here you're on mute.
You're on mute now.
Sorry, hi. I think the internet just cut out here, which is odd, but it was happening before. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I forgot what I was saying, but there's an app, Leah, that we worked on pretty recently called OK Inside. It's a client that it is obviously to now it's completely digital, but it was centered around an idea or the execution of providing a platform to talk about mental health issues. So it's I can't really speak to the human-centered design so much, to be honest. I don't really have the language around that, but I would say that'd be a good project for you to look at for a case study to kind of understand how we would, in a way, walk through brand strategy first, figure out like the narrative, figure out the story, figure out how we're gonna have like the tone of voice there, really defining what the story is that we want to tell, and then going into design. The one thing I would say at Firebelly is most of our clients, we start always first off with brand strategy, and that seems to be the kind of bridge into design. So never starting a design project by just kind of like taking it in and then sketching, kind of always having a base understanding first and setting that foundation first. And that kind of would walk you into human-centered design in a way, like kind of walk you into thinking more about the product through the lens of the customer or the consumer than just, designing in a silo or designing, on a whim. So that's a project for us to look at.
Great. Do you know if you have that case study on your website or anything?
Email. It might be freezing again.
I think it is freezing.
Hello.
Is there a storm in Chicago?
Not in
She's
Chicago,
actually
but
based
in New
in
York.
New York.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Personal hotspot came in handy.
Nice.
All right.
I don't think the hotspot's working.
It actually may not be on the I think about it. So if you send me an email, I'll also want to follow up with you on that. What is happening now?
You're a
No?
little.
This is so weird.
I got
Okay.
it. I got the gist though.
Legitimately, I use this
I think maybe if we all turn our cameras off, it might improve.
This is hilarious.
All
Okay.
right. So I think if we all just turn our cameras off, it might improve the connection.
Okay.
All right.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. Technology. Any other questions?
Chantel, I'm so sorry, but the end of that, you said something about email.
I said, oh, shoot me an email. I'll put my email into the chat here.
Okay,
And I will follow up with you more on that question.
sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
So I have a question about working with teams. And this is
Mhm.
Melody, by the way. So considering that you've been, leading others for a while, I was just curious of what qualities you look for in teammates and the way that like you can coach them, or if there's anything that you look in particular as far as either like finding them or trying to like pull certain parts out of people when you know that they're a little bit like shy to show it off or kind of step into themselves. Do you have any like experience with that, or are there any certain qualities that you really look for?
Yeah, I think that's a layered question. So I'll start off first with the qualities I look for with someone who's like working directly with me. And this is something I just learned over the years. It's like always have a complementary person to you, meaning that the things that you aren't good at, the person who is closest to you in the organization, make sure that they're almost like the opposite of who you are, like just the complete opposite. And it helps to make kind of like a whole. So that's kind of like I've done that with every job that I have, and it tends to work where it's like you have to have a mirror person in a way, like someone who can do the things that you cannot do. And that's kind of like team building step one for any director or manager. And then step two, when it comes to encouraging people who may be more shy or, who are talented, but maybe not being highlighted, is give people permission to talk. I would say make room for others or people on your team to step up. Like give people who are junior opportunities to do things that wouldn't be in their normal role. Give them space to lead a project, to speak on behalf of the company, to be kind of forward facing. I think it's important to just let people try, even if they're shy. A lot of times people will just get comfortable not speaking. So I think it's up to a manager to give people that space. And of course, if there's a personality and they're never going to do it, then you don't want to push anyone. But I think it's important to just kind of nudge people forward, and listen to them. I think that's number one as well. Listen, ask for one, what are their interests, be actually interested, and then encourage, folks along the way. And there's no science to that, but that's kind of what I found, in my time. I had one team member who, in my prior company, who's at the job for over a decade, had been in the same position for the entire time that she was there. And I knew, I was like, this person should be a director already. Why is this person not a director? And it's because people let her be comfortable in a role. And I kept saying to her, do you want more? Do you want to try more? Do you want to do more? And when someone sat down and actually asked her where she wanted to go, she opened up. And, I was able to help her and nurture her and encourage her to move forward. Now she's a director at that company and doing very well, but people overlooked her because they never talked to her. And that to me is actually super offensive, to have someone at your company for so long, but never really get to know them and take advantage of their loyalty. That is a no-no in my book. So always talk to your team members, talk to your employees, talk to your family, your team becomes your family, and see what you can do best to highlight them and to push them forward.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine working in the same position for 10 years and then nobody asking you. That is giving me secondhand anger.
Yeah. It made me really angry. Because this particular woman, she is just a phenomenal person and so loyal to that company, such a good, just a good asset to that team. And I think people let her, in a way, almost kind of be complacent and took advantage of that complacency. So I think it's important for managers to talk to their team, and hopefully the team feels like they can talk to you about things. It's hard to foster rapport, but hopefully when you have built that and built over time with the team, you can learn about people and learn what they want in life and give them platforms to live the kind of life they want. That's the point of having a company. Like, it's not just here to serve a person or a client, it's here to serve the team. So yeah,
exactly. Like a creative team, like all of the clients that you could ever have, all of the work that's generated is literally nothing without the people who are actually making it.
1,001%. I can speak to that. Like, every day I get in a phone call, all I'm doing is being a cheerleader for my team. I just think of myself as their advocate, their cheerleader, their hoorah person, because they are the people who are putting in their talent, their hard work, and making the company what it is. Like, they help us to shine. I'm just like the face, like the person, the amplifier, I would say, of their talents. And it's a privilege to do so in a position that I don't take lightly. And it's tough, but it's something that I really appreciate, being here.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
All right, so it looks like we have about 5 more minutes. Who else has any more questions?
Hi, I have a question. Hi, Chantel.
Hi.
We work together at one Jeanswear group. I was just
Oh my
wondering-
God! Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say, like,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Congrats on the baby.
Thank you. I just want to say you were probably one of the best bosses I've ever had from a leadership perspective. And I've now been in the industry for a really long time and been thinking about how to transition to other design areas. So I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on how did you make that transition from fashion into more branding? I've created new brands for the company I work on now, and I just really enjoyed the whole branding aspect of things. How do you make that transition, and what do you kind of highlight from your fashion career?
Michelle, one, it's so good to hear from you. I know we faced it's so nice to hear your voice.
It's been so long.
And so it's been such a long time, but thank you for saying such nice things. I don't want to be emotional, but thank you for saying that. Yeah, honestly, like, I don't think there's any one way to transition. I have to say, like, I got really lucky. I was talking about transition for a long time. So different opportunities. I started a company with my husband before I started at my current company now. So I had clients, we were doing branding, still doing branding for freelance clients. So just kind of started doing the work on the side. And a friend who I've known for, a decade was saying to me, as I was talking to her all the time about, like, wanting to try new things, wanting to, like, put myself out into the world, ended up having a position open in her company and tell me to apply for it, even though I thought I couldn't really do the job. So is there a magical way to, like, move from one thing to the other? I honestly don't know. I feel really lucky to be where I'm at, even though I did it with 8 interviews or whatever I had to do to get the job. I feel really lucky. So the one thing I would say is, 1, what do you want to do? Like, what role do you want to be in? 2, start doing the work, right? Like, don't wait for someone to hire you. If you want to do that kind of job, start putting the work into your portfolio. And it sounds weird to go backwards first. Like, literally, we were, taking clients on a couple years ago for not a lot of money, because I was thinking it's something new. I want to try something new. Like, you just start doing it. And eventually things start to happen as you get more, as you move further along. So I think the key is just to start doing what you want to do. And if you want to talk more about it, Michelle, I'm totally happy to, instead of, like, being on the spot. But it can be difficult, but it's worth it, right? I think in today's day and age, especially with fashion, we have to realize that all these creative fields bridge together. If you can run a company at one place, you probably do it at another. If you can build a product at one place, you may be able to take the same knowledge and do it also at another company as well. So it's just about, yeah, you have to be, I don't know, you got to attack essentially, Michelle. Why don't you want to work and attack that person, attack those people, and start doing the work, your future life, like just start doing it.
That's really good advice. I like the quote you had about if you can design one thing, you can design everything, because I kind of was like, yes.
Yeah, that's Massimo Vignelli. Great. He's obviously the designer of the graphic designers, but yeah, I love that quote as well for us. It definitely does show that design is cross-disciplined.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good to hear from you.
You too.
Any other questions? I know we have 2 minutes left, so. That Allison, hello. Hi. Oh my gosh, how are you? Oh,
Your audio is a little choppy, Allison. It's a lot of feedback.
type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. We are having like weird audio, video, visual issues right now. Thanks, Zoom. But either way, I can't hear you, but it's super good to see you. I haven't seen you in forever.
I don't know if you guys can hear.
It sounds really staticky, Allison. Like there's a lot of loud feedback. I think it might be your microphone. No.
Take a second. Don't worry about it. My screen cut off mid talking, so it happens. As Allison's getting her sound together, anyone else have a question? All right, I'll look in the chat to see if we hear from her. I know we're at time, but Melody or Christian, is it okay if we go over a little bit?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I have time.
Thank you, Chantel. We appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for being here. Oh my God. So Allison said backstory, Chantel and I used to work together way back in the day. She means way back, a long time ago. And she thought she taught me everything I used to know, or everything I know about Illustrator, which is funny to say, being that I'm at a company right now where surrounded by actual graphic designers and my Illustrator knowledge is, nada compared to actual designers, but I'm happy that we were able to do so. It's so good to see your face. Either way, I guess we're gonna wrap soon. So thank you for having me to the Chicago Graphic Design Club. It's been a privilege to be here to talk to all of you. Sorry again for the technical difficulties, but things happen.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so great. And yeah, I look forward to seeing all the amazing things that you and Firebelly do in the future. So thank you so much.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
And
Thanks,
then,
guys.
I'm going to drop in some links in the chat here if anyone wants to just follow the club, and you do. There you go. Looks like a long link, but there you go. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Chantel. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.